We are deep into summer, getting ready to leave summer shortly and go on into fall. Are you ready for that? So we made it in. Thank you once again for choosing to be here on the J.A.M. You used your free will, and God knows it's so important because it is at stake right now. They don't want you to be able to choose anything. They want to censor our social media. They want to make decisions for us. They want us to be cyborgs. They want us to move into this transhuman state. Like, really? You want to change God's creation. Amazing. So, and the people, perps, gang stalkers, all of them, are helping. And they don't realize that it will affect them in the long run and their seeds, their children and their children's children, because it's a plan for humanity. Okay? And they think, I guess they think they're elitists as well. They think that they have money and power because that's the only ones that's going to be able to think and enjoy life freely. That's the plan anyway. I see it being disrupted. I see us being free. I see God just turning this thing around. I see deliverance. I see it being over. And we see the little signs. We talk about them every day. Not every day. I wish for every Tuesday night here on the J.A.M. All the things that we see that are making changes, that are putting those dominoes in place. So when that one domino is hit, everything falls in line and lines up, leading to our what? Freedom, freedom. Yeah. So I'm really excited that you guys decided to join me here, and I choose you back, and thank you for choosing the J.A.M. So we have a jam-packed night. No guests. It's just me and the Jamsters, you guys, and the people that help the J.A.M. team. So please, sit back, relax, and let's get started. I just want to say one thing before we open up, and that is I've talked a few times about the fact that once this is over, LAT, Life After Targeting, once we begin Life After Targeting, we get to decide who is going to be in our lives. Who are we going to reposition? Who are we going to put out? I mean, I'm sure we've suffered some betrayal, some disappointment, and some people have made us proud. Some people stood by us. Some people, help us. Some people avoid the whole thing, and we could understand it. It's not an easy thing. It's not an easy decision to make, and they don't make it easy for people that they approach and that want to reject the idea. So we, some stand by us. Some shy away from the whole thing. Some betray us totally. Some betray us reluctantly, and some betray us kind of happily, like, they're glad for what they're getting. So we're going to look into that a little later, like what do they tell these gang stalkers? What do they tell these people? So we visited that a minute last week, but not enough. So let's really look at that. But first, what are you going to spend your time doing, your LAT, your Life After Targeting? You think you'll be forgiving some of the people in your lives and move right back into the life the way it was? You think you'll hang around with more of the TIs, to start your own little TI community of world with people that you found in this TI community that you believe are legit and real, and that you made bonds with and created friendships and lifelong relationships with? Or are you going to readjust some, forgive, forget, readjust, move them out, move them closer? What's your Life After Targeting social life going to look like? What do you think? Let's open up with that question, and let's get ready for the news and get ready to jam on. Guys, thank you once again for joining me. This is GoGi's. This is GoGi's After Dinner Jam, and I'm so glad that you are here tonight. Thank you. Please announce yourself, city and state that you're from, and what's your social life going to look like after targeting?
Hello.
Good evening.
Okay, I hear two people.
Go ahead,
We're going to take. Okay, thank you. Tamia and then Daniel. Go ahead, Tamia.
Oh, God bless you, Trini.
what I'm going to do after I come out of this, well, I will tell you what. Man always has a plan, but guess what? God always has his plan, and his plan always overrides man's plan every time. And so whatever God's plan for me is, that's what I will be doing. But I'll tell you, Trini, one thing for sure, and this is something that we must never, ever forget. We need to, when we come out of this, we never shall forget who brought us out of this, and we always need to give God the praise for it, and never forget that it was him that did it. So God bless you.
Yeah. God bless you. Thank you so much for that, Trini. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, we'll never forget who brought us out of here. You can believe that. You can believe that. And we had some bass in the house coming from Brother Daniel. Sister Dan, go ahead.
All right, thank you. And Soumya, I agree with you, and I love you, and I love y'all too. Tranquility and GoGi's, thank y'all for having the call. And Huntsville, Alabama, I'm where I'm at, and I'm definitely going to have lifelong partners that I've met through here. There's so many to name, but obviously you and Tranquility and Soumya and Melody, everybody. So it's going to just look like it is and continue to grow.
Amen, amen. And the same here, Daniel. You're certainly on my list. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for your comments. Thank you for your support all the time. All right, everybody. Please state your city and your name and city and state you're from, and what's your social life after targeting going to look like.
G, are you there?
Hello?
Yeah.
GoGi, are you there?
I am. Hi, how are you?
Hi, honey. It's Autumn. How are you?
Hi, Autumn. I'm great. Thank you. And what city and state are you from? Well, you know you've been traveling, so God knows where you are right now.
Colorado. I am from San Diego, California.
I don't have a social life. My mission is to...
And do you have an answer for the question, Autumn, about your life after targeting? Ma'am, hold on one second. Autumn, go ahead.
My life after targeting has been absolutely amazing in actuality. I have gone through hell. I get zapped all the time, but you know what? I have the power of God behind me, and it makes me stronger every single day, GoGi.
Beautiful. Oh, my God. You sound so...
I love being able to share with people. I love being able to myself. But the most important thing is I love the fact that I'm going to Colorado to meet my friends there and expose and ask for people to stop this absolute atrocity to America.
Amen, amen. Thank you for that, Autumn. Absolutely. That's at the Targeted Action 2024 meeting in Colorado Springs, Colorado. So glad that you're coming. Look forward to meeting you there. Be there or be square. That's the message on Targeted Justice website. All right. Thanks, Autumn, and thank you for that. You sound so chipper. Oh, it's so beautiful. Thank you, my dear.
All right, honey.
All right. Take care. All right. And there was another woman speaking. Go ahead. Life after targeting. After targeting, what will your social life look like? City and state you're from. Okay, I guess she's not going to speak. Anybody then? Let's go.
My name is Jeff. I'm from Texas.
Hi, Jeff.
How are you?
I'm as well as could be expected under the circumstances. How are you, and what's life going to look like for you, Jeff, after targeting? You're from Texas?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's where we are. Okay, go ahead.
I've been going through it since like 2010. I call here sometimes, but not very often. So I live in Pepper, Texas.
All right. Well, thank you for joining the J.A.M, Jeff. Do you want to tell us what life is going to look like for you socially after targeting? Are you going to forgive some people? You're going to drop some people? You're going to hang with the TIs? What do you think you're going to be doing?
Oh, well, I think I stay involved. Tranquility. And see what happens,
All right.
Run off.
All right. And welcome, Jeff. Welcome to the J.A.M. Thanks for joining the J.A.M. All right. Go ahead. Next caller.
Can you hear me, GoGi?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Diane.
Hi, Diane.
Targeting. Hi, I'm going to thank God that He brought us out of this situation. I'm going to grab my family, me and my 3 children, and try to mentally sustain a good life for us, mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Beautiful. Thank you, Diane. Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
I pray that happens for you and your family. Beautiful. All right, next caller, please. Life after targeting, your social life, what it's going to look like. Forgiving, forgetting, moving on, spending time with TIs, rebuilding what you have. Go ahead, ma'am. Is somebody talking?
For sure. It's in a bucket that says front.
If you have background noise and you're not speaking to us, you can mute yourself. Okay, we'll take 1 or 2 more, then we're going to move on. All right, guys, we're going to move on now. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's get ready for the news. All right. Okay, so we have some items that we saw going on around the world. 1 or 2 are very interesting, not as current as I would like them to be, but they still hold true, and they're things that we need to look at. So let's get started with the first one, which is a video. And, I like to start with Havana syndrome because we're watching that carefully. The only way people can get Havana syndrome is through direct energy weapons. So it is proving our case. It's proving that direct energy weapons are assaulting and hurting our bodies, although we know they only acknowledge the diplomats, but there are over 300 of them. Some are children, and some have been assaulted on U.S. soil. So those are significant happenings, and we have a group of TIs, and we meet because we've already been diagnosed with Havana syndrome and deciding exactly what to do about that. And so there is exposure coming. Okay, so let's just look at this. This video clip is Havana syndrome sufferers, and it's talking about the care that they're really not getting. Okay, so Lady T.
Havana syndrome sufferers face challenges navigating the military health system. Federal watchdog finds civilian federal employees, contractors, and family members identified as having Havana syndrome, mysterious symptoms that began, for many, overseas after hearing a loud noise, accompanied by instantaneous earaches and headaches, face difficulties receiving medical care in the military health system as allowed by law. For a report published Monday, Government Accountability Office analysts interviewed 65 of the 334 people who qualify for Defense Department medical care for their condition, referred to as anomalous health incidents by the U.S. government, and found they faced troubles navigating the system, scheduling appointments, and receiving medical hardware, medications, and support. According to the Government Accountability Office, the affected CIA, State Department, and FBI employees and others have not received clear guidance from the DoD about their medical care and often rely on one another to navigate the maze of facilities, including the National Intrepid Center of Excellence for Traumatic Brain Injury in Bethesda, Maryland, Walter Reed National Military Medical Clinic, and regular military hospitals and other facilities. Many of those interviewed for the GAO review said they had little support and faced difficulties getting appointments at military hospitals as they qualify for care only on a spaced available basis. They added they couldn't reach anyone to make appointments at the National Intrepid Center of Excellence. Some patients stated they had waited so long for a response from the National Intrepid Center of Excellence that they had essentially given up on the military health system and were pursuing treatment in the civilian sector. GAO analysts wrote in Havana syndrome, better patient communication and monitoring of key DoD tasks needed to better ensure timely treatment. Several State Department employees at the U.S. Embassy in Havana, Cuba, began suffering in 2016 from headaches, tinnitus, hearing loss, vertigo, and cognitive dysfunction after hearing a loud noise that came from one direction, according to sufferers. Reports from other U.S. government employees, contractors, and family members followed after similar incidents and experiences in China, Russia, Poland, Colombia, and elsewhere overseas, as well as in the U.S., including Washington, D.C. Studies into the possible causes have reached different conclusions. In a report declassified in February 2022, a panel of intelligence community experts said that pulsed radio frequency energy could be responsible for symptoms, while an intelligence community assessment published in March 2023 found that most federal agency members believed it was unlikely the incidents were targeted energy attacks by a foreign adversary. That report concluded the symptoms likely were the result of a conventional illness or pre-existing condition. In 2022 and 2023, Congress passed 2 laws that required the DoD to furnish medical treatment to affected employees and family members at locations that included the National Intrepid Center of Excellence and certain military treatment facilities. According to the report, 34% of those eligible for health care were either CIA or worked in the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, 29% were with the Defense Department, 16% were State Department, and 11% were FBI employees. The remainder were classified as other and included some 15 children. Those who received care through the U.S. military, 50 patients, and were interviewed by GAO told officials that they were grateful for the treatment from providers familiar with their experiences. Nearly half said their symptoms had improved as a result of treatment. But many said they never received guidance on how to access care and faced challenges getting onto base, receiving medications, and making timely appointments. By law, the DoD also was to maintain a registry of affected patients, collect data and information that would be used to help drive treatments, and establish processes for caring for patients through a network of specialty facilities, the Intrepid Spirit Centers, at U.S. military bases across the country. But those tasks have not been completed, according to the GAO. DoD has created a plan to address some access concerns of anomalous health incident patients, but it contains uncertain time frames and lacks monitoring provisions, the report states. The GAO noted that, because its analysts interviewed only volunteers from the patient community, the findings may not represent the experiences of all those affected. The watchdog recommended that the DoD provide written guidance such as a handbook, as a way to educate patients on their care, develop a small cadre of health providers and administrators to manage cases and care for patients, and work to fill provider vacancies by shortening the length of time it takes to onboard new employees such as nurse navigators. The Defense Department agreed with the recommendations, with Silene Mullen, Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Health Affairs, writing in a response to the report that the DoD is piloting a handbook to guide patients and will finalize it by early fiscal 2025. She said it also is developing monitoring capabilities and maintains a coordination cell at the National Intrepid Center for this group of patients. According to the report, the patients feel stigmatized by their conditions, and many are reluctant to seek care, given the reaction they have received at work after disclosing that they were affected. Nearly half the patients GAO analysts interviewed said they faced difficulties at work, losing assignments, being placed on leave, having their security clearance renewals delayed, or being referred for psychological care. Several patients said they did not tell their supervisors of their exposure out of concern that it would negatively affect their careers. Studies published in March by the National Institutes of Health found that affected patients had no evidence of brain injury. Using magnetic resonance imaging and blood biomarkers for brain injury, researchers examined more than 80 patients with Havana syndrome and compared them with a control group, finding no significant differences. In an accompanying editorial, Dr. David Relman, a professor at Stanford University School of Medicine who also has engaged in research on anomalous health incidents, said that drawing conclusions from this study that nothing happened would be ill-advised. Noting conditions such as Gulf War illness, chronic fatigue syndrome, and long COVID-19 that initially were viewed with skepticism and suspected to be psychological, not physiological, Relman said institutions must examine their own biases, address shortcomings in research, and treat patients. Prejudice and poorly supported assumptions must be set aside. Clear and timely public communication is essential. The delivery of appropriate non-judgmental care must be initiated without delay, Relman wrote.
Okay. Very significant here. It's telling us that they're having so much trouble. Some
GoGi's? We can't hear you, GoGi's.
Thank you, Tranquility. I could hear you guys. You couldn't hear me. I'm so sorry. But I'm saying that was very significant because people that choose to go somewhere else, they're choosing to pay because it's free if they go to the military. It's free if they go on the base, but they're not showing them how to get on there, and they're having issues, and they're creating a handbook which is not going to be ready until when? Till 2025, the early months of fiscal year 2025. And also they said that they were getting stigmatized. So when they hate to come forward and say it because really they're being targeted at work. Tranquility, can you send the information to Constance, please? I'm sorry. All right, so someone texted me. All right, so, yeah, very, very, very significant there. So let's look at the article. I have an article that I want to look at, but it's important that people get the help they need, and it's the other thing to note is that the main percentage, the highest percentage of people who were impacted were from the CIA. Okay, I remember that the FBI was 11%, but the highest number was from the CIA. So, and then, we know that there were children as well. All right, so we're going to keep looking at Havana syndrome and keep watching and following that because, again, that's what, if you've been targeted for or electronically harassed and assaulted for at least 6 months, then most likely you have Havana syndrome symptoms. All right, so this next one, this is a court case, and I found it very interesting because it's that Stan Caterbone, and he did this case pro se. He started it a while ago, years ago, and in 2018 it went to the Supreme Court. And we're going to look at next week. We'll look at how he did. But I wanted to mention some things because number one, I wanted to look at some of the things that he said happened to him and see, and you think in your mind if they're happening to you. I sure identified with quite a bit of them. And also, his template is a really good template to follow if you're doing a pro se case. I think it's well written and well organized and so forth. So we want to look at some of the things that he said. So I'm going to read some of it, and then I'm going to jump ahead next week to how he fared, like how the case did. So this is Stan J. Caterbone versus the United States of America. So those are his respondents. He's the petitioner. And it was at the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. Okay, and then it went to the Supreme Court. So let's look here at some of what it says. It says today, and I guess he wrote this during the Trump administration, today the Trump administration is using the old J. Edgar Hoover COINTELPRO program while at the same time expanding the powers of local law enforcement through 3 executive orders in order to militarize local police departments. The following are the effects of the illegal and landmark COINTEL program that is used against me. As contained in the Lancaster County Court of Common Pleas, case number, and he has the case number, where President Donald Trump was added to the defendants list on January 23, 2017, and other state and federal court cases, the Trump administration is utilizing an illegal COINTELPRO program to harass the appellant, Stan J. Caterbone, and obstruct justice by causing it almost impossible for the continuation of those same civil action. Okay, so the Trump administration signed 3 executive orders that broaden the powers of the City of Lancaster Police Department to coincide with the above. The fact that plaintiff Stan J. Caterbone's history with the Lancaster City Police Department traces back to the 1960s with the targeting of complainant Stan J. Caterbone's father, Samuel Caterbone, Jr., in the very same manner as the current targeting of complainant Stan J. Caterbone. Today is reason enough to have summary judgments in all civil actions in federal and state courts immediately ordered. Okay, so his father was targeted, and now he's being targeted. Okay, the targeting consists of the following, and this is what I want us to listen to. An unprecedented harassment program carried out by residents, neighbors, stalking groups, law enforcement, and others. An unprecedented hacking program of all electronic equipment. Unprecedented torture program utilizing electromagnetic and other exotic weapons developed by the Department of Defense and intelligence community. An unprecedented campaign designed to drain the appellant Stan J. Caterbone of all cash resources, which has resulted in a cash position of some $60,000 in June 2015 to nothing today. The unprecedented campaign of false statements by the residents of 1252 Fremont Street and the perjured statements of Lancaster City Police Department in recent criminal summary offensive filed in District Magistrate Adam Witkiness Court. An unprecedented campaign of daily harassment and threats to the residents of 1252 Fremont Street, which has been ongoing since 2006, an unprecedented campaign of threats of physical harm in public spaces. The unprecedented campaign of the breaking and entering into the residence of the complainant, Stan J. Caterbone, causing vandalism, theft, poisoning of food, and the strategic placement of cockroaches on a daily basis. This also involves the theft of manipulation of court filings and evidence. Okay, so they touch his legal stuff. The above are all facilitated and supported with violations of due process in the complaint to the law enforcement. Complainant Stan J. Caterbone receiving retaliatory, adverse, and harassing treatment due to the fact that one complainant, Stan J. Caterbone, pro se, am the amicus for former Pennsylvania Attorney General Kathleen Kane in case number, and he told her the case number, amicus, in the Eastern District of Supreme Court, currently in litigation. Okay, so he has another case, and he believes that the cumulative result of the above lays the foundation for an unprecedented landmark case of human rights violations and antitrust violations. Okay, let's see if I want to do any of this. Okay, let's read a little bit of it. It is too easy to present and future administrations to abuse their power and utilize warrantless surveillance as a means of subverting and obstructing justice for those that are engaged in whistleblowing cases that concern national security. Without the proper oversight and judicial review, a whistleblower can be placed on terrorist lists for malicious reasons without the knowledge or just cause. This is in direct conflict with keeping our democracy free of corruption while adhering to the spirit of the Constitution in the manner our founding fathers envisioned. Advocates activists, citizens, and voters must ensure that constitutional rights of private citizens are not compromised and justice subverted through information obtained from warrantless surveillance upon which there is no just cause for any allegations or association with terrorism. Whistleblowers are inherently supportive of a system of checks and balances within our government that go beyond our constitutional doctrines regarding the same. Whistleblowers ensure that the rule of law is universally applied to all government officials in all branches of the government. The Federal False Claims Act and its provisions protect individuals from abuse of power while providing relief and remedies for those that were wrong and those that had the courage to cite a wrong. Okay, so it continues on. I just want to read. I'm gonna leave it right there. But he mentions the words handlers, being interrogated by the CIA, and synthetic telepathy occurred it occurred from 2004 to 2005, and so forth. So let me read the last sentence. This can be substantiated. No, not that. In late spring of 2005, the handlers introduced females to the sessions. To this day, the torture consists of the same interrogations mixed in with harassment, sex, and humor. It is the opinion of pro se plaintiff Stan J. Caterbone that the only way to keep from just desensitizing and numbing the harassment and pain is to experience pleasure and laughter so as to keep the magnitude of the pain at its highest level. Okay, so we're going to continue reading. This is page 32 of 77. And I really want to get to the end and find out what happened with his case. But I think it's something good to look at in terms of a template for a pro se, someone who's deciding to do pro se work. Okay. All right. So let's see how he fares. In 2018, his case is accepted to the Supreme Court, and we'll look and see what the decision was, hopefully next week. All right. Let's continue moving on. I received an article, thank you, about a video, it is, about FBI surveillance planes. And it's not current, but I'm sure it still stands. And it also lets us know what the planes are capable of doing. And I believe that now they do even more, okay? But in this year, they were doing mostly surveillance. All right, let's roll a clip.
This night, surveillance eyes in the sky, including South Florida.
A new Associated Press report says the FBI has a fleet of planes flying over cities across the USA. Megan McRoberts is in Fort Pierce for us tonight, where one FBI surveillance plane has been tracked. Megan.
Well, an FBI surveillance plane was tracked flying from Pompano Beach up here to Fort Pierce in St. Lucie County International Airport within the last year. But a local former FBI agent tells me these flights are done secretly, but it is to benefit the public. When the FBI after some of the most dangerous criminals,
the last thing they want to do is tip off the bad guy that the FBI is following them.
Former FBI Special Agent Stuart Kaplan says aerial surveillance frequently helps solve and stop dangerous crimes.
It's an awesome program. It's a very, very important program to support either criminal investigations or terrorism.
The FBI has used secret surveillance flights for nearly a decade, equipped with sophisticated video cameras and cell phone tracking devices. But the Associated Press did an investigation finding the FBI's fleet is much larger than previously thought, with possibly over 100 fixed-wing planes registered under 13 fake companies.
And the FBI, of course, has an effort to try to blend in. I mean, certainly it would not make sense to put the FBI insignia on a plane.
Kaplan says the fixed-wing planes help the FBI track criminals secretly when cars and helicopters can blow their cover. But the AP says the planes can also collect data unrelated to their case, could be handed over to prosecutors.
I can tell you that the FBI is not out there flying planes just gathering information from the general public.
He says technology is ultimately keeping everyone safe.
Look at where we've come from 9/11 to where we are today and how safe we've been able to be.
Now, the AP did reveal those 13 fictitious company names, saying that they are public government records. But Kaplan thinks that was foolish of the AP, saying that it undermines the FBI's safety and investigative efforts. The FBI is able to complete these flights without a search warrant, the AP found, because they are signed off by the Department of Justice. Reporting live in Fort Pierce, Megan McRoberts, WPTV News Channel 5.
Okay, so they justify that the FBI is using the planes for surveillance, for of course for good reasons, but we know that those planes they tap into our technology, and there's some of them that have weapons. So we've read those articles before in the past. So okay, I wanted to look also at this. I found this interesting because I had no idea there are like 18 alphabet soups, like 3-letter agencies. 18? Really? Okay, so this is a current article, August 18th. Oh, Lord. August 18th, 2024. It's by A.J. Cachetta, and it's entitled, U.S. Intelligence Community Now Prioritizes Hurt Feelings Over Counterterrorism. So it's kind of like a slap at U.S. Intel, saying that now instead of caring about counterterrorism, you care about how people feel. So, all right, let's just take a little dive into it. It says since 2009, America's counterterrorism infrastructure, which calls itself the intelligence community and favors the abbreviation IC, has been radically changed by Barack Obama and Joe Biden appointees. From the FBI's participation in the Trump-Russia collusion hoax to the CIA's efforts to discredit Hunter Biden's laptop from hell, to the Secret Service's recent failures, the IC is straying from fulfilling its mission, which is to collect, analyze, and deliver foreign intelligence and counterintelligence information to America's leaders so they can make sound decisions to protect our country. The newly partisan IC may be failing in its assigned duties, but it is making great progress on its DEI objectives. Information coming out of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, ODNI, in particular, shows just how far the IC has devolved in 15 years. Born from the small Office of Strategic Services, OSS, during World War II, when the motto was loose lips sink ships, reflected the priorities of its leaders. Today's massive IC is comprised of at least 18 3-letter agencies whose motto seems to be inconsiderate words, hurt feelings. Okay, so post 9/11 IC expansion. The 9/11 attack caught the IC off guard. In response, Cofer Black, the CIA Director's Special Assistant for Counterterrorism, famously announced to the 9/11 Commission and elsewhere that the gloves are off. He meant to signal a new era in which preventing Al-Qaeda attacks was the number one priority. The Marquis of Queensberry counterterrorism rules were declared obsolete, and the wall between intelligence and law enforcement was lowered. Following the governmental principle that more is better, the IC subsequently became flush with money, attention, and new hires. In November 2001, the Aviation and Transportation Security Act brought the Transportation Security Administration, TSA, into existence. In 2002, the Homeland Security Act created the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, which immediately took over the TSA. Okay, DHS took over the TSA in 2002. The Counterterrorism Center, CTC, created by William Casey in 1986, was deemed insufficient for the new era. So in 2003, the Terrorist Threat Integration Center, TTIC, was created. It became a sometime ally and sometime rival of the CTC, and overlapping responsibilities created friction between them. In 2004, the TTIC grew larger and was named the National Counterterrorism Center, NCTC, while the CIA's Directorate of Operations, DO, was remade into the larger National Clandestine Service, NCS, in 2005. The growing pains were not over yet over. So we can hear, like all these creation of departments, and they talk about the ODNI and how it was created, but year after year, and especially in the early 2000s, it seems, they started creating all these different acronyms and different agencies, intelligence community pieces that ended up being 18. Okay, so let me look at let's jump to the end. And then they have a whole thing about Islam. And so I'm thinking that when they say about sensitivity, that now they're concerned about the diversity and inclusion, and they're being criticized for doing so. Let me just do a little bit of it. And then we'll jump to the next thing. The first article in the dive suggests ways that IC officials should change their counterterrorism lexicon with the goal of disentangling Islam from words and phrases used to discuss terrorism and extremist violence, spreading that some trainings and official presentations conflated Islamic belief with terrorism. The author urges IC members to avoid certain phrases to identify international terrorism threats that are hurtful to Muslim Americans. Chief among those hurtful words are jihadists and any mention of the word Islam. American terrorists should be called homegrown violent extremists, HVEs. The author continues, but care must be taken to ensure that there is no reference to the problematic terms if suspects happen to be Muslim. Okay, so those are problematic terms, Islam and jihadists. And so they're called homegrown, let's see what this word is again, homegrown violent extremists. Okay. Foreign terrorists may be labeled international terrorism extremists, but IC members must ensure to explicitly state that they manipulate and distort Islam to wrongly justify violence. Okay. The article then introduces its preferred substitute for terrorism, a word that many Islamic scholars, public leaders, and academics use to accurately identify extremists, which is I'm going to spell it, KHAWARIF. So mainly we can see how a lot of the cases that are being brought forth through CARE, which represents everybody, but in particular a lot of the Islamic or Muslim beliefs, and they're winning because of this, because they've been biased. There's been bias against them. All right, so it seems that this is a way that they're cleaning it up, but they're being criticized for caring about hurt feelings and building care about hurt feelings into the agencies, into the intelligence community, when actually you have to use neutral words and words that are not insulting to any other cultures. So there are 18 now of the alphabet soup. That's the point we want to make here, and let's move on. All right, so the next video we want to talk about, this is Hope and Tavon, and it's a video about our biofield. So they're saying that the way they can attack us has something to do with our biofield. Why this is important is because if we know how it happens, then we can figure out how to prevent it. All right, so let's do that.
They're all the biofield with their technologies, which was squashed in favor of covertly exploiting the biofield, but then having patients take chemicals.
Cut, burn, and poison is the medical industry. So, and that leads us to the wireless healthcare.
We're halfway done.
And how they control your health. So the IEEE, EMBS, are the world's largest international society of biomedical engineers.
Wireless healthcare is what they're calling precision healthcare. These are the words that you're going to see more and more. Precision healthcare, design, designer drugging, that's tailored for you, electroceuticals, nanothermoplastics, I'm going to say that, biomedical tissue engineering, and regenerative medicine.
This is the industry that's changing your DNA and bringing transhumanism and hooking your body up to the cloud. So these engineers are the new doctors. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
So now we're there replacing by too. Exactly. And also, just a quick note, that's why I've been trying to get the doctors and the people that know medicine and people that know technology. We need to start having more conversations. Those worlds need to be bridged because doctors don't see the technology, they're just treating the physical, and the technology people don't see the bodies that they're affecting, right? So they really need to start talking to each other because they're already doing it in the industry. The engineers, the electrical engineers, they are the new medical doctors.
So there's a little bit of a disparity here as far as, so we know that there are doctors who that need this information, that are publicly coming about talking about what's been done to humanity is a terrible thing. So they need to be confronted with this research where we're asking for them, begging for them to look at the information on this presentation. Somehow they get a presentation like this with the documentation that we cite for them to get caught up on what's been going on in their own field, in their own industry, because clearly what we're looking at is an upgrade and a phasing out of medicine, where it favors more of an electrical engineer with some kind of medical experience than a doctor, a traditional doctor. And so this is where we're heading in the future. If this continue, we're dealing with an application of the body area network called the Medical Body Area Network. The Medica Body Area Network is first report and order from the FCC in 2012. The introduction is, by this report and order and further notice proposed by the rulemaking, further notice, we expand our Part 95 Med Radio rules to permit the development, and this is 2012, of new medical body area network, or M-band devices in the 2360 and 2400 megahertz band. So that's microwave radiation there. And propose procedures for selecting a party to register and coordinate M-band use of these frequencies of 2360 and 2390 megahertz portion of the band. The M-band technology will provide a flexible platform for the wireless networking of multiple body transmitters used for the purpose of measuring and recording physiological parameters and other patient information, or for performing diagnostic or therapeutic functions, primarily in the healthcare facilities. This platform connected sensors to essential monitoring equipment. This platform will enhance patient safety, care, and comfort by reducing the need to physically connect sensors to essentially monitoring equipment by cables or wires.
Pesky cables and wires. Can't have any of those.
No, we have to do microwave from the inside. That's the answer. Our decision herein is the latest in a series of actions to expand the spectrum available for wireless medical use.
So the hospitals, they use the medical body area networks and a software called OMNET to report data from human bodies up to the cloud. That's a vision of that on the bottom left there. That's the OMNET software program. This was done in hospitals during COVID. And we did a report with Todd Callender. I think you covered this as well in the past, Maria, with him about this data being reported to a database in Israel. That's where he was talking about testing the military. It was like 44,000 military members and their families were tested during phase 1, 2, and 3 of the Pfizer clinical trials. Study C459001, where they used InTouch and eDiary and ePCR devices that were reading the genetic changes of these 44,000 soldiers and their families and transporting this information in real time to a company in Israel.
Okay. All right. So there's a lot going on in the medical field that's preparing to diagnose and take assessments of our bodies in a different way, but then by using what they put inside us. So we just really need to just stay apprised of that and informed of that information. That link will be available to you. I want to jump to this now. This one is an article. It's called, I found this really interesting. It's Scientists Control Minds Using Switches in the Brain in World First. So this is the first experiment done with lab rats, not us this time, with mice, real mice. And so they do an experiment to impact the electromagnetic field around the mice, and they're able to use a switch to control the mind. So it's something that we definitely need to look at. Okay. It says scientists have been able to conduct mind control remotely in an incredible world-first experiment. Mind control might seem like something out of science fiction, was possibly the closest thing we can get to consciously controlling our own minds without the technology being lucid dreams. Now, however, an experiment involving mice has shown how the change of a magnetic field, how many of you have been around that magnetic field, well, those crickets, was able to alter the behavior of animals fitted with special switches inside their brains. At the change of the magnetic field, mice were able to be told to feed, socialize with others, and act with maternal instincts as researchers targeted areas of the brain associated with these actions. Researchers from the Institute for Basic Science, IBS, and Yonsei University in South Korea have engineered mice that have nanoparticle activated switches inside their brains. The technology has been dubbed NanoMind. The technology, and combines genetics, nanoparticles, and magnetic fields. It allows researchers to remotely activate circuits of the brain. To achieve this, ion channels were integrated into the target areas of brain cells. These ion channels could be turned on and off remotely, pulling at the nanoparticles of the brain cells when the magnetic field was active. Significant differences in food intake was noted when the mice were in and outside of the magnetic field, suggesting that the desire to feed could be manipulated remotely. Interesting. I've heard guys say they can't eat. All right. It is hoped the groundbreaking technology could provide future treatments for disorders that affect emotion, social behavior, and appetite. Jean-Woo Cheon, senior author and director of the IBS Center for Nanomedicine explained this is the world's first technology to freely control specific brain regions using magnetic fields. They continued, we expect it to be widely used in research to understand brain functions, sophisticated artificial neural networks, two-way brain-computer interface, BCI technologies, and new treatments for neurological disorders. There's just a overwhelming fascination with the brain, and if it was being used for good, like if somebody was, overeating and whether they were anorexic or bulimic, and you were helping them, then I could see it. But we targets know that they use this for ill intent, for gain, for profit, for gain, and they use it unlawfully. So we need to keep our eyes open, ears open, and keep up with what's going on. All right. Next, we want to look at, we just have a little, let's take a commercial break because I skipped it. Let's do a commercial break, and then we're going to come back with a little brain collage. And we only have a few more articles, and then I want us to go into a discussion. So let's just do a quick commercial break. Thank you.
Are you feeling like something strange is happening in your life? You tell others, but nobody believes you? Well, get ready to uncover the truth with GoGi Justice's groundbreaking book, GoGi's 10 Signs Which Indicate You're a Targeted Individual. GoGi Justice, an everyday person just like you, has written a book that exposes the covert illegal activities happening right under our noses. With a writing style that's raw, honest, and relatable, GoGi takes you on a journey through the dark world of targeted individuals. You'll ask yourself if you are experiencing these signs. Learn about infiltration, gang stalking, privacy violations, and even hacked home appliances. GoGi's book is a beacon of hope, providing encouragement, tips, and resources for those who find themselves trapped in this nightmare. It's time to fight back and regain control of your life. So if you're tired of feeling isolated, unheard, and targeted, grab a copy of GoGi's 10 Signs Which Indicate You're a Targeted Individual. Available now on Amazon.com and the Targeted Justice Etsy shop. Don't let them silence you any longer. Take the first step towards understanding, empowerment, and freedom. Get your copy today and join the movement. GoGi Justice's book, A Voice for the Targeted Individuals.
Yeah, don't forget to get your copy of the book. Remember, at some point, we're going to be compensated for every year that we were on the list. That's what the lawsuit is requesting, $1 million per year. And if you look at the signs, you might discover that you were targeted even before you think you were. Okay? So, all right. Here we go. The next one, we want to just have the brain collage, and then I'm going to go into a little good news, a little judgment through the courts in our favor. All right. Go ahead, T.
The true way that this technology works is that complete DNA profile is obtained from the target, from the individual, the targeted individual. And then this information, the DNA of the individual, is used to determine the resonant frequency of the DNA itself. The resonant frequency is then used to fine-tune the technology, the radio frequency signals, the microwave auditory effects, and all the other aspects of the technology to tune it perfectly to the resonant frequency of the targeted individual's DNA. And they can read your thoughts verbatim as they occur within your own mind.
We can generate an electronic signal that's characteristic of the DNA. This can read DNA from a solution, and your blood is a solution, it's a liquid. We can decode it into a form that can be read by a computer. In a way, you can think about DNA as digital information moving through a tube. Now, we can tap into that tube like a network, and we can read that information. We can intercept what's happening in people. You can make them an extension of the internet. And, I have a thermostat at home that's on my iPad. I can change that and warm the house before I get home. People call that the Internet of Things. We call this the Internet of Living Things.
Much like any information, biometric information, digital information can be susceptible. We know that genetic information and DNA sequencing information is highly sought after by adversaries.
The memo says the kits could expose personal and genetic information and potentially create unintended security consequences and increased risk. It also says the data in the wrong hands could be used to conduct mass surveillance or to track individuals.
There are many military applications for maintaining and using DNA data sets. There are new technologies that are coming out.
Technology called biocoded directed energy. And that's the top secret thing that was developed. And what it is they get your DNA. Once they have your DNA, they take the DNA and they put your DNA code in a supercomputer. And in that supercomputer, they run algorithms that biocode electromagnetic transmissions so they bioresonate with your body. Once they've done that, they can transmit that from satellites or cell towers or aircraft or any number of ways. And that signal will only affect you and nobody else. In other words, everybody standing next to you is not going to hear the content because their receiver is not tuned to that bioresonance.
There's a bioresonance to every individual, just like our fingerprint. Every person has an individual DNA and different bioresonance. And so the original Stockland patent is on my website, where Stockland was able to go horse to skull with pulse transmissions in 92. And then after the rest of the development went black ops. We don't really know what happened after that. We knew we could voices in group people's heads. What they did, and I know from the Russian translation, Cheryl Welch, reading all of her translated psychotronic stuff from Russia, that they figured out how to biocode these microwaves so that they can attack specific individuals.
They basically analyze your DNA and they then use supercomputers to encode the signal.
And you basically convert DNA information into ionic information into computer information. That's the way from DNA to ions. But the brain, we're interested in the opposite, ions to DNA. We have the ion channels that are going through the spiking, or in some cases, non-spiking behavior that is influencing the fidelity of the DNA polymerase, so that the time series of the calcium, say, turns into a spatial series of changes in the DNA sequence, which you can then read out or compute on. And not just for the RNAs and other molecular identifiers, but what the brain was thinking during activity.
All of us speak to ourselves in our head. That's how it's strange that we communicate to ourselves by speaking, right? But we will just sit there talking to ourselves. So as we are talking, there's a certain pattern for every word we say. What they're doing is looking at the pattern in the brain, and then they're matching that pattern, they're putting that into a database. If you think of those words, and the beauty of this is most of the words in the dictionary we don't say. But a subset of these words, actually a small subset, we use all the time. So if you can match the patterns in somebody's brain to the patterns in the database, you can literally start to read their mind. Every time a word comes up, you know it. Oh, that word came up for that individual. Now, will the patterns be identical in every person? Probably not, though the information will be stored in slightly different places. But it wouldn't take long for you to train a machine to read your mind.
Wow. They can actually train a machine to read our mind by our vocabulary, the words that we use. Very interesting. Okay, so we're going to have to work on preventing that, huh? All right, so this next article is from Electronic Frontier Foundation, and it's a little good news. It says Federal Appeals Court finds geofence warrants are categorically unconstitutional. And if you remember an article we read a little while ago about Google decided that they are now going to encrypt our location. Remember that, everybody most people have their location on the phone, whether it's convenient for your GPS or whatever, but people keep their location on, and they could care less who sees them and knows where they are and so forth. And Google has stored or has access to all of the locations because you also keep Google on your phone. So when the police tell Google that there's a crime being committed or they need access to a crime, and they do this whole geofence with maybe 35,000 square feet, I don't know, or square miles, or I don't know how big it is, but a huge fence, geofence that encompasses, the 35,000 is the number of people. Well, it might encompass 35,000 people, and then that gives the officers access to all of those people's information, their texts, their phone numbers, their contacts, and everything. And they don't have to say to Google, they don't have to prove that they have a warrant. They don't have to get a warrant. They just get access saying that there's a crime. And it could just be a TI that they're searching for. So from now on, Google said that they were going to, I was wondering why they said that. It could be because of this decision, that they were going to encrypt the location so even if the police want it, they can't give it to them because they won't even have it. And then, of course, on the other side, Google received some pushback, and now instead of being like this monopoly search engine, there are other search engines rising up and so forth. So I'm sure the police will hook up with someone else to try to get this information. But let's look at the lawsuit. So it says massive win for the Fourth Amendment. Judge Ho has ruled that the geofencing surveillance method used to track J6ers and other Americans is unconstitutional. The Federal Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals held in its opinion that geofence warrants are categorically prohibited by the Fourth Amendment. The court's opinion forbade the general exploratory rummaging that the nation's founders intended to outlaw. EFF pointed out that under the Supreme Court's landmark ruling in Carpenter v. United States, individuals have a reasonable expectation of privacy in the location data implicated by geofence warrants. Second, EFF noted that the court found that even though investigators seek warrants for privacy in the location data seek warrants for geofence location data, these searches are inherently unconstitutional. As the court pointed out, geofence warrants require a provider, almost always Google, to search the entirety of its location data, while law enforcement officials have no idea who they are looking for or whether the search will even turn up a result. This is a major blow for Americans' constitutional rights against increasing encroachment of the surveillance state. This is James C. Ho, Circuit Judge, concurring. His comments are, geofence warrants are powerful tools for investigating and deterring crime. The defendants have engaged in a violent robbery and likely would have gotten away with it but for this new technology. So I fully recognize that our panel decision today may inevitably hamper legitimate law enforcement interests. But hamstringing the government is the whole point of our Constitution. Our founders recognized that the government will not always be comprised of publicly spirited officers, and that even good faith actors can be overcome by the zealous pursuit of legitimate public interest. You go, Judge James C. Ho. Okay. If men were angels, no government would be necessary. That's a great statement. The Federalist, number 51 at 349, J. Cook, ED 1961, is a quote. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls of government would be necessary. That's the quote. ID. But experience has taught mankind the necessity of auxiliary precautions, ID. It's because of human nature that it's necessary to control the abuses of government, ID. Our decision today is not costless, but our rights are priceless. Doggone it. Whew, this is a good one. Reasonable minds can differ, of course, over the proper balance to strike between public interest and individual rights. Time and again, modern technology has proven to be a blessing as well as a curse. Our panel decision today endeavors to apply our founding charter to the realities of modern technology, consistent with governing precedents. I concur in that decision. Okay, so they're standing on it that no more warrantless geofences. Okay, wait a minute. Let me just get this correct. Federal Appeals Court finds geofence warrants are categorically unconstitutional, period. So no more geofence warrants, where you just grab a group of people and you get all their information. All right, love it, love it, love it. All right, so that, again, is from EFF, Electronic Frontier Foundation. Say that 3 times fast. All right, so where are we? I think we have one more. Where are we? One more video. We want to focus on, we have a video that deals somewhat, it reminds me of geofencing in a different way, the way they surveil us by the group. The geofence throws a fence around a whole group of people. Well, some of this torture, they just get a whole group of people and can change our moods. We have to always be careful of that mind control stuff. So let's take a look at Silent Holocaust, Part 1, Mind Control, and then we'll hear from Sir Dan with the continuing story about whistleblower Terry Albury. Okay.
Absolutely, yes. That is exactly what the people running this program have in mind in terms of application of this particular feature. It is to, or at least it can be used to induce riots, for example, or stop riots. It could be very, very dangerous. That's a great point you bring up about traffic patterns, auto accidents. I mean, this is messing with the innermost part of human beings, their emotions. And so you can imagine how irresponsible it is to actually manipulate someone into being in a bad mood, and manipulate everybody in town into being in a bad mood. And then they get in their cars and they drive around where their own safety and other people's safety is at risk. It's a huge, huge problem. And you can imagine the applications of this. If anyone ever wanted to start a riot, if anyone ever wanted to increase the crime rate, and then, of course, you can use it for the exact same opposite. You can use it to decrease the crime rate by making everyone passive. And that could have nefarious applications as well if you want people to be passive and not pay attention and not take action. It can be used for that as well. So, yes, the mind is boggled by the possibilities in terms of what this could be used for. The radio frequencies, microwave signals, the entire spectrum of radio frequencies can be used within a certain range to produce all sorts of different effects. So the way it works is a device broadcasts a radio frequency, let's say at an individual, and that radio frequency will hook up with the resonant frequency of the individual's mind or body, or in this case, DNA. And what happens is once the resonant frequency is found in the targeted individual and the broadcast frequency matches up with that resonant frequency, those two frequencies interlock, and they can be thought of as one frequency or one energy. And what happens is between the broadcast frequency and the individual that's receiving the broadcast frequency, once they are resonating together,
a super highway of frequency along which information can be sent is created. And so you can think of it just like fiber optic cables that you use to send signals over the internet that connect people to the internet. It's the exact same thing, only a wireless application of that. And so once you have connected the targeted individual with the frequency and they resonate together, then you have a perfect avenue upon which to send and receive information back and forth. And that's exactly how they manipulate someone's thoughts. They send voices into someone's head. They manipulate their emotions. They manipulate their behavior. And then that's also how they receive back from the individual in real time the vital signs, the emotions, the thoughts, what the person's seeing, what the person's hearing. And then all that information, of course, is rendered on a computer elsewhere via software, and it can be monitored and tracked in real time. It can literally stop your own thoughts from happening and replace them with other thoughts by sending thoughts to your head. And it's so sophisticated that you cannot tell where these thoughts are coming from. There's no way to discern that they're coming from somewhere other than your own mind. So you can imagine how bad this would be for people that don't even realize this technology exists. And they're having these thoughts, which they think are spontaneous, because being under the influence of this technology now, kind of having been on both sides of it, I am just amazed at the way it works. And I know that the thoughts that they beam into your head originate from the exact same place in your mind that your own natural thoughts originate from. So if I didn't know I was under the influence of this technology, then I would have no idea that anyone was influencing my thoughts at all. And that's exactly what it can be used for. It can be used to sway people in terms of their opinion, to make them go along with a certain agenda. It can be used to turn groups of people or individuals against each other for whatever purpose. And actually, this exact same technology can be used to not only influence the thoughts of someone, but also the voice box of someone.
Okay. Wow, that's the voice box. That's that forced speech. And people who have forced speech, that's what they're talking about. It can be used for forced speech. It can be used to control your thoughts. You think they're your own thoughts. And it can be used to manipulate your emotions and so forth. I mean, I listened to some of this, and they were even talking about how it can influence you to like a person romantically or not, or to dislike someone. So they play Cupid. It's, very, very interesting, and because some people are not really subject to mind control. We know about that whole percentage with hypnotism and so forth, but I'm not sure if this can supersede that, because they say it's a split second when they can put a thought in and you consciously would not be aware of it. So this is real serious stuff that we're talking about, and when we're talking about states that are putting neural rights in place, it's very, very important that neural rights are put in place to protect our brains and our emotions and so forth. And just like the geofence where the police capture a whole group, they can use this to influence a group of people to feel a certain way. And sometimes they use it just for you, and sometimes they use it for a group of people. So this whole study, this whole neurological or brain initiative, we really have to stay abreast of it. Okay, so we want to take a minute and look again at Terry Albury, and he was a gentleman who was with the FBI, and he blew the whistle because he did not like what was going on, and he knew it was unethical. And so I think the question you left us with, Sir Dan, was, can you start with the question that you left us with at the end? Was he this or that? And I don't remember the two adjectives.
Okay, yes. It was, is he a patriot or is he a traitor? So here it is.
Okay, thank you.
Albury pleaded guilty to unlawful transmission and unlawful retention of national defense information, which under the Espionage Act could earn him 10 years in prison each. Albury was specifically charged with leaking two documents to the media, one that highlighted FBI methods for recruiting informants, and another that was about threats from an unspecified Middle Eastern country, and retaining another. In a search warrant affidavit released at the time of his plea, the government said that Arbery had also accessed other documents published by the news outlet. In January 2017, Arbery was assigned by the FBI to be an airport liaison, working to recruit informants at the border. According to the government sentencing memo, he continued to take FBI documents home from the airport, though he never shared them with anyone. When law enforcement raided his home in August 2017, they found the documents on a storage device in a shirt pocket in his closet, wrapped in a note with a reporter's phone number on it. Prosecutors wrote that Arbery acted with clear disrespect for the law and his profession, and that his actions put us all at risk. While they maintained that motive is irrelevant to the offenses, they called into question whether Arbery was driven by social conscience, and said that he was no whistleblower because, in their view, the matters he exposed don't constitute abuse. Were the defendant truly troubled or disturbed or were at odds with FBI policies or practices, he could have walked away, they wrote. Ultimately, he chose instead to engage in criminal conduct for 18 months rather than engage in any process to remedy the ills he perceived against others or felt against himself. Arbery's attorneys pushed back, calling Arbery's motivation patriotic, and noting that his disclosures have not caused actual harm to the United States. No actual investigation has been put at risk, no undercover agent or source exposed or put in danger, no specific community or diplomatic relationship compromised, they wrote. Mr. Arbery engaged in whistleblowing activities deliberately and surgically, they added, arguing that his disclosures to the media were carefully curated. His goal was to expose abuses and counterproductive strategies in the FBI's counterterrorism initiatives. And as a seasoned FBI agent, he knew how to do this without putting individuals in danger or compromising any specific investigation. In a memo submitted to the court by prosecutors, E.W. Prystap, an assistant director in the FBI Counterintelligence Division, wrote that disclosures like Arbery's have the potential to reveal FBI sources and methods. But, as the defense noted, he failed to provide any examples of whether and how Arbery's disclosures actually did so, and framed all of his claims in the conditional. By definition, information classified at the secret level is information that unauthorized disclosure of which reasonably could be expected to cause serious damage to the national security, he wrote. Arbery's attorneys countered that the federal government has a well-documented problem with overclassification, and that just because something is classified does not mean that its contents is not in public interest, or that a disclosure would harm national security. That argument was supported by an amicus brief filed by 17 First Amendment scholars. The group wrote that between 2 to 3 million U.S. officials have the authority to classify information, and that last year they made more than 49.5 million classification decisions, a 10% increase over 2016. Reviews of classification practices have regularly concluded that the procedure is widely abused, that classifying information is too easy, and that there is no consequence for misclassification. A former director of the Information Security Oversight Office, cited in the scholars' briefs, reported that information published in third-grade textbooks is classified, further revealing just how arbitrary the process can be. Fired FBI Director James Comey's memos of his meetings with President Donald Trump, which were leaked to the media earlier this year, opened with his assessment of the level of classification they should hold. I am not sure of the proper classification here, so I have chosen secret, Comey wrote. Please let me know of sick. It should be higher or lower than that. Overclassification is rampant, the scholars concluded. A great deal of non-sensitive information is classified simply because disclosure would embarrass powerful officials or expose the government misconduct. That's all for this week. Next week, it's talking about everything to do with politics and nothing to do with justice.
Okay, thank you so much, Sir Dan. Very well read. Let me say this about that what you just read. This goes to what Mark Zaid was talking about. Attorney Mark Zaid mentioned with Havana Syndrome while he's representing the diplomats in the Havana Syndrome case that he has going on right now. He mentioned that just by saying Havana Syndrome or anomalous health incident, just that it has that word, the document or the information is considered classified. And this is what Terry Albury, that whole case brings out, is that they just classify information arbitrarily. A third grade lesson, a class lesson on a third grade level is considered classified, so and they just classify and declassify or whatever just arbitrarily with no kind of standard. And so that's also helping us to see the issue, because when they look at, for example, when they were trying to renew FISA Section 702, they were saying, that it's because they have national security issues and, they have all this classified stuff. And even with why we can't get the TSDB, it's classified, this is classified, and they just throw that word around and they classify things that they don't want us to know. And, so our government has a lot of work to do, All right. So, okay.
Hi, guys. Please check your screens for a short video announcement.
Hello, everyone. We'd like to invite you to join us at Targeted Action 2024 in Colorado Springs on August 28th through the 30th.
We want to see you there. It's important.
Yeah, this is not really an invitation. You must take it there. If you are at TI, you're still in the closet, it's time to come out of the shadows. Become active. Meet other activists. This year is going to be just historic.
So don't think about it twice and make arrangements. We'll see you there.
Be there.
Or be square.
Be there or be square. Love it. Okay? From back in the day, remember that. Be there or be square. All right, thank you for that. All right, now we're going to look at, this is our last component, and I wanted us to discuss this because we shared this last week. And Sir Dan, again, thank you for that reading of the story of Terry Albury, whistleblower from the FBI. Okay. Now, we read this last week, and it was so impactful. I want to revisit it, and then I'm going to open up for a brief discussion, and then we're going to go into our homework because there's a FOIA that I think we all need to do. We all need to do this particular FOIA, and a message also to Tulsi. So let's we're going to work on those two things right after this, and then we're going to get right off. So let's I'm going to try to move as quickly as possible so we can get out of here at a reasonable time. We don't have a guest, so we shouldn't be here all night, right? Okay, so here we go. What do I want to do now? Okay, we're going to go into Silent Holocaust Part 2, Gang Stalkers, and just to remind you, this is what they tell the gang stalkers. This is how they get them to do what they do. And so I'm going to let Lady T play some, and then I'm going to say pause, and she's going to pause it so I can make comments. And then when we're finished, I would love to hear your comments about it. And, so let's begin.
I can speak personally for the people I worked with at SIS, that when you do first find out what's going on, you are disgusted by it. You cannot believe that this is what's going on. There is also a very quick, almost a peer pressure-induced acceptance of it that causes you to say, this is pretty cool. And I'm just being flat out honest here about the psychology that's going on within these people's minds. It's pretty cool. We're part of the group. We're part of the massive army of people
that is going to be okay no matter what, because we're on the right side of this, because we're the people with all the power. We're the people that with ties to the intelligence agencies. We're the people with ties to the government. We're the people that are going to be okay no matter what, because, you know, we are willing to violate the law to get away with whatever we want to get away with. And our superiors and our bosses are as well. So as long as we make them happy and we do our job, we're going to have a pretty good life. And I can tell you that this is exactly what is done to people almost immediately upon the revealing of what is really going on. They're offered a series of incentives. They're offered, first of all, acceptance into the group. They're offered acceptance into what will be the future of America, that you will be sent, you and your girlfriend, or if you're married, you and your wife, your husband, your children are going to be taken care of. You're going to make a lot of money. You're going to have brand new cars every couple of years. Your kids are going to go to the best schools, and you are going to be connected, for lack of a better term. And at this point, it really does take on almost an organized crime feel to it, because what you're dealing with are people that are.
Okay, so first you're disgusted because you realize that at some point when they approach you, I guess you don't know exactly what you're doing, or you don't know how bad it's going to be, because they might just start you off with, okay, you're going to wear orange in front of this person. You're going to wear green in front of Sammy. You know, you're just going to walk by and you're going to have on a green pair of shorts. Or you're going to drive by with your car and flash your light, you know. So you think that, okay, we're just doing some, you know, nominal stuff like this. And then when you find out how the person's life is and how they're totally being targeted, and about the direct energy weapons, and, you know, you start filling out more, then that's when you start feeling the disgust. You understand that this is bigger and worse than you thought, but you're involved now. They've told you certain things. You know certain things. And then you have this peer pressure where they kind of surround you with the, you know, well, this one is doing it and that one is doing it. We're all together in this. And to me, it reminds me of a gang mentality. I remember when, you know, how they used to say that gang boys or girls, whatever, join gangs because they want a sense of belonging. And if they don't have it at home in particular, they want to be a part of something, and they want to feel protected, and they want to feel special. So this gives them the feeling that you're going to be with the intelligence community. Whatever you do is going to be okay because they are the law. And so now we're going to give you, new cars every year, money and acceptance and all this. But they don't tell you, number one, what you're doing to people. Number two, they don't tell you what they're doing to you because they don't trust you. So they're doing things to you as well to mind control, surveil, and watch you. Everything you do has to be proven. They don't take your word for it. You have to give them pictures and so forth. And really, you're making a deal with the devil, so you can't trust them. So it's like, although you're getting they're telling you all the good parts, you know what you're doing is wrong or unethical, immoral, unconstitutional. And so that has that feeling of guilt, depending on your upbringing. But with all the peer pressure and their pressure, you end up keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And some people, they really don't want to, but they're stuck. So let's continue. Okay.
Using their boss in order to do something that is absolutely illegal. They're monitoring and harassing and torturing and sometimes leading to the death of American citizens. They're violating their civil rights. They're violating their human rights. They're violating basic human decency. This is horrible stuff that's being done to people. And so you have to understand the psychological aspect that goes into convincing gang stalkers and people that are part of the program to do what they're doing. It is in fact, the psychological operation that is run against gang stalkers themselves and people that participate in the program is just as advanced, if not more so, than the psychological program that is run against TIs. It absolutely is. And so what you have is this very intense psychological program that's run. In fact, one of the things that I'm not sure people are aware of, but I'm trying to cover this on my site,
because I have direct knowledge of it. Hive mind, voice to skull, emotion manipulation behavior, modification technology is being used against the gang stalkers themselves and against people in the program. And it is being used to assist them in doing their job, specifically to take away their conscience, specifically to take away their empathy and their sympathy for the individual, for the targeted individual, so that they don't feel bad, so that they don't feel guilty about what they're doing. They are many times intelligence agents and soldiers are trained to get the empathy and the sympathy out of their system, because you're going to be asked to kill someone for us. You're going to have to go on the battlefield and shoot someone, and you're going to shoot them just because we tell you to shoot them. And so a lot of the stuff that goes on in basic training and in terms of training intelligence operatives is designed specifically to make sure that people will pull the trigger when they need to. And stuff like human decency and love and compassion and empathy and sympathy and caring for your fellow human being does not enter into the decision-making process. And so the exact same thing is done within the program.
Okay, pause. Thank you. All right, so it's like boot camp. You know, I used to wonder why they break the soldier down. As soon as they get them there, they break them down so bad, that 6 weeks of boot camp, and then they build them back into this, I guess, now I'm finding out, into somebody that's desensitized to feelings or to compassion to some degree, because they have to be ready to do whatever their squad leader or whatever they're called is told. So that boot camp is a serious tear down of things that you've been taught and things you lean on, and especially now you're torn down and then you go into war and you're to act out what you've been taught after boot camp. So you become sort of robotic, machine-like, and that's why most of the soldiers come back with PTSD, because now they have to come back into society and normalize and start feeling and caring all over again, and they've been broken down. And so, you have to really, our emotional system is so delicate. We think we're this and that and the other, but it's delicate. And you can't unhear and unfeel things. You have to work through it. And if you don't work through it, it's there. You carry it with you. So that's why people come back and they're traumatized. And so here we have, they're creating these gang stalkers, perps, and infiltrators to come into our lives and pretend that they don't have any feelings about what they see us going through. And somewhere they have to feel it, or it must be pushed down, or, if they're under mind control or they're desensitized to it. But they also have PTSD. And then we have it because we are traumatized because we never thought, if you ever thunk for a moment, that the government would be doing this to you or to me, that we would be on the receiving end of this ill treatment by our own government, by people next to us, and that when we raise our hand or sound the alarm, nobody comes running again. If I bring up that slap one more time, I'm telling you, Chris Rock looked to the right, to the left. He thought they were going to come run. Nobody comes running after we've been assaulted. So nobody comes running. It's a part of that PTSD. It's traumatic. And so there's going to be it's going to be all kinds of counseling needed when we're finished. Everybody's going to be laying on the couch. So it's this world has a rude awakening and a lot of repairing to do. That's why I'm ready to be on that side. Let's get this exposed. Let's get this stopped. Let's get into recompense, vindication, and restoration, because that's what's coming next. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sure that people will pull the trigger when they need to, and stuff like human decency and love and compassion and empathy and sympathy and caring for your fellow human being does not enter into the decision-making process. And so the exact same thing is done within the program, within the Voice to Skull gang stalking program. And it is done not only by peer pressure and direct training, it is also handled by the technology that can manipulate the people's emotions to turn off empathy and sympathy and love and care and compassion, and to turn on what I call almost a mercenary hired gunman mentality. And the reward for going along with this is you get to be part of the social group. Look at the TI and how isolated they are. Look at how
horrible their life is. Look at how sad it is. And every time I think about it, I start to choke up. It's so overwhelming. My heart just naturally goes out to these people, and I want to help them. But when you're the game stalker under the influence of this technology and the influence of the peer pressure and everything else, you don't feel that. And if you do, the technology is going to take it right out of your system. But look at the TI, how isolated they are. You're not going to be isolated like that because you're one of us. These are your people. Look around at all the other gang stalkers. Look around at the military and the intelligence services of the United States of America. Look at the local and state police. Look at the social workers. These are our people. You can date any one of these women that you want. You can date any one of these men that you want. Heck, we'll help you hook up. You can come and party with us and go out to dinner and do all the things that people do together. And that TI can't. That TI can't because of X, Y, and Z. That TI can't because he's on the wrong side of this. You're very, very lucky to be on the right side, and don't you ever do anything and mess it up because you will end up right where that TI is. You're not going to be one of us anymore. You're going to be isolated. You're going to be gang stalked. You're going to be tortured 24 hours a day by the most horrific technology ever conceived by the mind of man, and you are going to die, grow old, and die alone. And unfortunately, now I'm saying that I had a self-realization moment. I mean, that's exactly what's happening with me. And I can totally and completely understand how that is a very, very effective strategy to get people to go along with being a gang stalker and to help cover up this program. The entire point of this social engineering program that has been researched and developed for decades now, the full intent within the program, everything that's planned going forward, the day-to-day attitude of all the people, is that this program is going to be rolled out nationwide and it will become the norm.
Wow. Okay. And so that's the goal, for it to become the norm. However, they did not expect us to meet up. They must have forgot because they pushed 5G, right? They wanted 5G all over the place because it helps with the technology. It helps with the electronic assault, but it also helps us to stay connected. It helps for us to be instantaneous. We can say a word now, and the targeted individuals of India hear it. They get the message, or they see it on social media. We can put it out right 1 minute, and the next minute, the group from Australia has it. So it has created the 5G and the social media and the instantaneous world that we live in has stopped us from being so isolated. Some of us are still living alone. Some of us are still living in our cars. Some of us are still living alone in our houses and so forth. But the more we unite, and we have to carefully unite because of the darn mind control, okay, that they can pit one against the other easily. So we have to be careful with that. And I was asking Dr. Bear when I met him for the first time, I said, how do you block that? And he said, touch. Sometimes you just need to touch someone. There are certain things, we also know magnets help, but there are things that we can do to block that mind control. And so if you're in a household and you have other TIs there and all that, create routines that require touch, and that where you utilize magnets and you utilize whatever, exercise or something to break that mind control. Keep things in your environment. The Dave Casey, the magnetic, they have Tony P., this woman Georgia Lynn on Substack. She creates the fans and things that will create a different electromagnetic field in your environment. So do things, find things to shield and to help to create different things that will block this, so that we can create the communities that we need at home and abroad, as we go out and so forth, because it's important. The fact that we found each other and united is so one of the best things that we could have done. And I know Todd Callender stated with the vax, the people who refuse to get the vaccine are the ones who slowed this down, because if everyone had gotten that COVID jab, then they would be further along in their agenda. So these kind of things help to prevent this from moving along. And honestly, I believe God has a time of deliverance and a way of deliverance. So I wanted us to open up, talk about this a little bit, and then I want to talk about the FOIA that I want us to do. And we want to get off of here so y'all could be at work tomorrow. Yeah, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, getting late. So before we open, I think I'm going to talk about the FOIA, and then we'll open up to discuss whatever you want to discuss that was said tonight. And then we're going to, before that, we'll have the announcements. We're going to discuss these things, and then we're going to close out. So the FOIA, if you remember the FDA ruling, that new ruling that we discovered that they can, if there's a study that they find is going to be very, very rewarding to society, and you're in a position where it won't harm you, they can put you in the study. You're there for a medical procedure, let's say an endoscopy or, whatever procedure you're in for. They can put you in the study without telling you, as long as they have an IRB, they meet with the Institutional Review Board. Okay? So my idea is that we all put a FOIA in to the places that we've been, to the hospitals that we've been in, any clinic, hospital that we've been in, and ask for the institutional review boards which were held with our name, give our name, our date of birth, any institutional review board reports, decisions you want to know so that you can be apprised of what studies have been put in. So if I have to, if I can, I will try to formalize this. I think all we need is that FDA ruling and then the request for each of the hospitals or doctors, clinics that we've been in where they could have put us in a study and implanted us. They could implant you based on that new FDA ruling. So that's what I'm thinking. And I also believe that I'm wondering if you all think this is a good idea with Tulsi Gabbard. She is obviously aware that she's on the list of quiet skies, but she also mentions from time to time that she knows other people are, and she knows other agencies put people on the domestic terrorist list. So we want to name it the TSDB, and we want to tell her that we believe we're on that list as well. And since she's on social media, if you have, and we have access, we need to, and not flood her. Let's not, flood her out. She's in our camp. She's working hard to expose this. And I'm just saying that we give her a little, I'm on the TSDB. I'm in the TSDB handling codes 3 and 4. When you fight for your quiet skies, please don't forget us. There are other people here, or, just some kind of urgent plea about 4 sentences on her TikTok, Twitter, whatever she's on that you find. Substack. Excuse me. But let's reach out softly and just coax her into fighting for us all. Okay? So those 2 things, that's your J.A.M. homework. All right? 1, let's look at doing a FOIA about the IRBs. And 2, let us reach out to Tulsi Gabbard and let her know that we need her to fight for us as she fights for to get off the quiet skies. All right, so thank you, Lady T. Thank you, Tranquility. Thank you, Sir Dan, for your assistance tonight. Guys, we have gotten this far. We've lost people in our lives. I lost my mom, my dad, my pets, just about so many things. And but we are still here. And we're pushing to the end, and we're still seeing signs. I'm hoping that it happens before the election. I believe if things turn, that it will happen after for sure, but I'm hoping before the election. I'm still praying and believing God for a miracle. All right, so we're going to hear announcements, and then we're going to open up for discussion. And then we're going to say good night, guys. All right, go ahead.
everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Week in TI Events. We've got a lineup of impactful activities coming up in the TI community this week and beyond, so let's dive into what's happening. First on the list is a major ongoing event, the 2024 Democratic National Convention in Chicago, running through this Thursday, August 22nd. Ann Baker has organized a group of TIs to participate. It's not too late to get involved. Visit the Havana Syndrome Task Force Rally section at tievents.org for all the details. Moving on to another highly anticipated event. The countdown to the Targeted Action 2024 rally in Colorado Springs is well underway. In just 8 days, from August 28th to 30th, this rally, hosted by Targeted Justice, will unite over 200 attendees for the largest TI awareness event ever. The speaker lineup is nothing short of impressive, featuring Sarah Westall, Dr. Lynn Baer, Attorney Anna Toledo, Richard Lighthouse, GoGi Justice, Craig LaForest, and many other esteemed members of the TI community. If you've already registered but haven't completed your payment, please finalize it now by visiting targetedjustice.com and using invoice code 001. And for those needing transportation, check out the rideshare board at tievents.org to connect with fellow TIs heading to Colorado. Before the rally, there's a special celebration. GoGi will be celebrating her birthday on August 25th. The birthday girl welcomes contributions via her Cash App at GoGi, 4 Justice. She graciously accepts gifts twice a year, on Christmas and her birthday, so this is a perfect time to show your appreciation. In addition to the celebrations, GoGi is spearheading a new project for the community. She's gathering resources for the J.A.M. resource book, a directory designed to help TIs find assistance, whether it's food, free phones, or other essential services. If you know of any helpful resources, please send the details to the J.A.M. resource book at proton.me so they can be included in this valuable guide. If you're still wondering whether you're a targeted individual, GoGi's book, GoGi's 10 Signs Which Indicate You're a Targeted Individual, is a must-read. It's available on Amazon and the Targeted Justice Etsy shop and offers vital insights for anyone within the TI community. Stay updated with Targeted Justice by following them on Rumble. Just type Real Targeted Justice in the search bar and hit follow. And don't forget to keep up with GoGi Justice on TikTok and YouTube for the latest updates. Thank you all for tuning in tonight, and a special thanks to GoGi for providing the platform to share these important announcements. For more details on these events, visit tievents.org, and while you're there, sign up for email updates so you never miss a beat. Until next time, this is Tranquility signing off and sending you all waves of positivity. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Thank you so much for that, Tranquility. Wonderful announcement. And yes, my birthday is coming up. Yay. All right, so I get another year younger. I'll be 39 all over again. Wow, it's going to be great. So, and my son's birthday right next to mine. Happy birthday, Chase. Sure, Chase, I think you're on the line, so happy birthday. All right, so, and any August birthdays, for that matter. Happy birthday, guys. All right, we celebrated a few birthdays when we knew about it, okay? So let's continue to do that. I love birthdays, love Christmas. All right, so we have some questions in queue or some comments, some discussion. Let's do that, and let's please do our J.A.M. homework. All right, go ahead. Hi, we can probably hear you. Hi.
Hi. There was a gentleman speaking earlier, and he threw out, I think, about a dozen. Oh, are you able to hear me?
Not that well. It might be me, though. I'm just going to.
How about now? Is it any better now?
A lot better.
So there was a gentleman speaking earlier, and at the beginning of his talk, he said that he threw out like a dozen terms that were like medically and technology related, and I tried to write them down, but I didn't get anything. So I was wondering, can you just drop those buzzwords into the chat so I can go and Google them and research them later?
Was that from the article, from the whistleblower article?
I don't know. It was a gentleman. It was the beginning of his talk, and God, he said things that I'd never heard before, and so I just wanted to research those items.
Okay. Was that you, Sir Dan? Sir Dan, are you? Did you start your whistleblower article with
I don't.
terms?
I think it might have been one of the recorded.
Oh, okay. All right. So then it would probably be a link that you need. Ma'am, I hope I can find it. I don't know which one, but Lady T and I will try to find that for you. Okay?
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Put it in the chat. All right. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. All right. Next caller, please.
GoGi, this is Diane. I was wondering, what's the name of your book to know if you're a TI? Because I'm having doubts if I'm a TI or whether this is something local and personal against me. Even though I'm getting attacked with the vibration, electrical vibration 24/7. I have marks all over my ankles, legs. I don't want to complain because I know I'm trying to get help and not complain about it. And I would rather seek, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to get solved. I'm trying to get this solved some type of way because this is going on 24/7. They don't stop with me. They blow my legs up. Some kind of way they put heat in my legs at night, a lot of heat. And then I wake up in the morning, my legs are very big and swollen until I, try to work on them. It's just a sad thing because it's 24/7. It's like nonstop because I'm alone, me and my son, and it seems like they take advantage of that. They isolate. Isolate.
All right, I'll tell you the book. And you can see if you're indeed a targeted individual. And I would encourage you to look up different shielding for electronic harassment. The name of the book is GoGi's 10 Signs which indicate you are a targeted individual. GoGi's 10 Signs which indicate you are a targeted individual.
That's a long title. And happy birthday. Happy coming up birthday. It was just my grandson's birthday, the 19th. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All the best to you and look for shielding. Okay.
How old is your son? How old is your son? How old is your son?
Oh, my son he's a grown man.
Okay.
If I tell you that, then you're not gonna believe I'm 39 anymore.
Oh my God. Okay. No. I have a son 39. I have a son 39. I have a son 39.
He's up there. Thank you so much for your comments, Diane. Thank you for joining the J.A.M.
Okay, I enjoyed.
Thank you. All right, next caller, please.
Yeah, hey, GoGi, it's Tori. How are you doing?
Hey, Tori. How are you?
Okay. You know what? I think with this electronic weapons, I think one of the things that's going to happen in the future, if we look at some of the things they can do, like some TIs have had involuntary muscle movements, maybe feeling confused. I think it's going to be used as like a weapon really to maybe suppress someone. Like you could use, like for example, the active denial system is used to disperse crowds. And I would imagine that if something like this is turned up, it makes me believe that they could either use it to cause severe pain as well as immobilization. So I think it's weaponized to suppress a population, on top of surveilling them and knowing where they are and things like that. And like it mentioned earlier, we do have the network infrastructure now that can handle multiple devices. So meaning even a human body being on a network. In a 5G infrastructure, it's completely possible. So, just like microwaves can reach your phone, they can reach your body too. So I think we haven't even seen the full scale and use of this weapon, but we do have telltale signs of what it can do.
Absolutely. We have signs of what it can do. We know how it works. We know some things that will interrupt it. And by us bonding together, we can try to work against this thing. And we will be the first ones that really know about it so that we can help other people. Because once it comes out in the public eye, then they're going to be just finding out about it. So if we get to talk about it and share our stories, our documentaries, and so forth, for me, it'll be my testimony. I can't wait to share it once it is indeed a testimony, because I do not want to glorify the enemy or these enemies. So it's, we'll be able to share and teach and help others. So, yeah, it's
yeah. I also noticed it seems that taking a shower there's some relief to it, and I would imagine that's due to water, because water is a good deterrent to microwave. So I would imagine that would be the case.
Yeah, I agree. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
So it's looking like it'll be October for my appointment with John, just so you know. That's just going to end up working out better. He and I emailed back a couple times, so I just need to see the earliest start time on the day I arrive.
Okay, good. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Tori.
Yep, thank you, Gandhi.
Uh-huh. Next caller, please.
Hi, Gaji. Happy birthday. Coming in a few days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I appreciate being able to get on here. I just want to throw a couple things out there and some stuff I've been working on. Is that okay?
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I did a lot of research and to see, because I know a lot of this is fungal infection. So I'm thinking the 10 best things to keep in your cabinet at all times is Vicks Vapor Rub, Desitin ointment used on baby's diaper rash. It's always good for your face. It helps, to clear up some of the stuff. Also cayenne pepper, constantly keep cayenne pepper, lemon juice, lime juice, and cinnamon. Constantly keep cinnamon, oregano. Oregano is really used, tea tree oil, coconut oil, olive oil, castor oil, mineral oil. All of those are really good to detour a lot of things. So, just do some experimentation with those. And there's one more, but it's not getting in my head. I'm just trying that out, and it's really good stuff. But God bless you. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you for your list. I think I got them all.
Thank you. Okay, I'll talk to you next time.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Constance. I have Vicks, Desitin, cayenne pepper, lemon, lime, cinnamon, tea tree, castor oil, mineral oil, coconut oil, and olive oil.
Yes, and those are very important to keep in the cabinet.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Okay.
I love it. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Look forward to meeting you, Constance. All right, guys.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Uh-oh, you're breaking up. Hello?
Yes.
Okay, that's better.
Okay, I have two comments. One is a big, since you are going to be in Colorado in 1 week, try to make sure that we will have access to live stream, because, for instance, yesterday there was supposed to be a live stream of the rally for the Havana Syndrome Task Force, and it did not work. So all of the activities that were programmed, the people who were not there in Chicago, they missed them, the TI.
Wow.
So try to make sure that your live stream will work so that anybody who's not traveling to Colorado will be able to participate, or listen.
Yes, guys. Please do pay attention virtually. There will be live stream links, and there will be a lot of people live streaming, and there will be a videographer. Okay, thank you for that comment, Liliana.
Yeah, and then the second comment is you have a YouTube channel where this podcast tonight, for instance, is going to be a recording of it can be heard again.
Yes, ma'am.
It's
called GoGi's After Dinner Jam. So
okay,
the Justice Action Meeting, but it's GoGi's After Dinner Jam.
And that will be accessible when tomorrow?
Yeah, probably later tonight, but definitely by tomorrow. Yes.
Great. Yeah, you had lots of good clips, and that we should maybe ask you for the links, so that we can have copies of that.
Yes. I'm gonna get. I plan to get to the point where all the links are dropped in the transcript. So I'll work on that. And thank you for what you do submit. You and so many others send things to me, and I'm able to go through and see and pick out the best one. So thank you for that. Couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you.
You're
welcome. Thank you, Lily. All right. My pleasure. Next caller, please.
Hi, Gaji. It's Deborah. Happy birthday week to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deborah.
So, Gaji, I think I heard somebody mention that the perps actually show pictures to their superiors, I guess, after having committed crime.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there is a merit system, that they're paid possibly more to cause something like a car accident or worse than to push someone down or break an arm. I wonder if there's some kind of merit system involved with that. Just curious. And then it's interesting to me about the psychological health and the intelligence level of these people who sign up for this. You wonder who are these criminals. Right. And of course they do learn fairly quickly, especially since they have since we're on calls like this that we are innocent people. We are innocent people. So there's another layer to what they do in terms of they sign up for supposedly to harm people that are criminals, only to find out that we are church going and good decent people. So innocent people. So it's all very disturbing, and it's interesting. Yes, they certainly. God, I had to laugh when you said they didn't expect us. They certainly they didn't expect that we were going to team the way we have, and what a powerful group we've become. So, yay! So thank you, Gaji.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you. Yes, Deborah. Very, very good points, and it is so. I don't think at the beginning they may know the depth of it. Some of them may, but as they move along, as you're saying, they realize these are innocent people. If they look at somebody, if one of their jobs is to surveil someone's life, like Brian said, Brian Cochran, how boring. Some of us lead very boring lives because we're not as, I know I'm not as active as I used to be. And so to watch me sitting here and, looking through these writings or doing this or doing that, it's not that exciting. Some people do have them getting up and going places all times of the day and all that stuff, so that might be a little more exciting, but a lot of times we're isolated and so forth. So, but they do find out rather quickly that we are innocent and that we're not terrorists. We're not sitting up here making bombs and looking for, looking up stuff and trying to do things. We're not doing that. And so they realize that, and they have to wonder, what in the heck, why am I watching this person? Why am I hurting this person? Why am I hurting their pets? Why am I doing this? But they say that they desensitize them so that they will continue and push past those emotions and go ahead and do what they're supposed to do. They desensitize them, they peer pressure them, and they let them know you're a part of this group now, and if you keep thinking like this, you're going to be over there. You're going to be over there. And so they'd rather stay on the side that they are and continue their wrong.
Yes, and we need more Brian Cochran to, to be strong enough to leave. I know if I ever had made such a mistake as to get involved with something like that, which of course I never would have, but if I did, I would rather be harmed than to continue to harm anybody, particularly an innocent person. So, kudos to Brian for being brave enough and decent enough to leave.
Thank you, and thank you for that comment. Kudos to you for being brave enough to say it, Deborah.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Gaji. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too. Okay. All right. Next caller, please.
Hello.
Noise there. Hi.
Hello. Hi, Gaji.
Hi.
I just wanted to know, that last story that you read. I mean, not that you read, that you played, the recording about the convincing the gang stalkers to be part of the program and then deeming them to take away their conscience and empathy and sympathy and humanity. What is the source of that and the date of that? And what is that, from a video or is that from an interview?
The name of that clip is the silent. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, The Silent Holocaust, and it's by Brian Cochran. Cochran is Kofron.
Okay, and that's online as like a YouTube.
Yeah, I think it's a YouTube. But if you put in Brian Cochran, Kofron, and The Silent Holocaust, it should come up.
Okay. Thank you, Now, and have a really cool one.
Thank you. Next caller, please. All right, guys, we cleared the line, and we have a nice, decent hour that we're ending. Thank you so much for joining GoGi's After Dinner Jam. It's my pleasure to host you. A special thank you to Tranquility and to Sir Dan and to Lady T, who played all the videos right on time. Thank you. And Sir Chase, we look forward to hearing from you soon. And again, Major P will be back with us as soon as possible. And Constance, thank you for the TI tips. Thank you. I wasn't sure you were ready. That's why I didn't put you on the agenda. But we had some great ones. Thank you. And thank you, guys. We're going to open up to say nighty-night. So please do your jam homework. Please find Tulsi Gabbard and let her know who you are. Let her know that we need her voice, that she has attention. She has the mic right now, and we need her to speak on our behalf, okay, so that we don't remain invisible. All right, let's open up and say good night. Thank you, guys, for being
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you for joining
Good night,
the jam.
everyone. God
Good
bless
night.
you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good night. Happy birthday, Gaji. Happy birthday. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's your birthday month, Gaji. Celebrate the rest of the month.
Happy birthday. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining the J.A.M, guys.